another episode of Disrupt. I'm Dominic Cousins, one of your co-hosts, of course here with Matt Breitenbach, and today joined by Jared Seligman here in Bridgehampton.
Thanks for coming over.
Thank you for having us. So excited that you're part of the series and here with us today on this beautiful summer day.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Let's get it kicked off. So we're here, we're talking about disruption, we're talking about innovation, we're sitting with friends, colleagues, peers, and obviously you have a breadth of knowledge of working in real estate, or maybe you could talk a little bit about that. So you're living out here in the Hamptons now, came from the tri-state, from the city originally.
Yes.
And so how has that shift been for you just, to begin with?
It's been absolutely amazing. I mean, I've tried to move out here, I feel like, for like 15 years. Everyone told me I was crazy and I would never leave the city. And I basically tried a bunch of different things in Manhattan to kind of make my boredom a little more tolerable. And I did design, I did some development stuff, I did, new development marketing, and, I had a great time. I then went into interior design. When COVID happened, I spent some time in Palm Beach, totally fell in love with it, and just being out of Manhattan for a consecutive amount of days, longer than summer camp when I was a kid, was really like the first kind of step into like, I think I can, get out of here. But no, I've loved the Hamptons ever since I came here as a kid, as a guest of friends and families. And I remember being in high school and having some of the most fun times with friends and loved ones out here. And I just fell in love with it. I met Matt, like I think 16, 17, don't need to age ourselves over here a while ago. And we did some deals together.
Nice.
I loved the homes and the real estate. And so I've been trying to do it the past maybe 2-ish plus years. I was like a hybrid agent, as they say, doing the city and out here, trying to spend more time out here. And just, even if it was like one day a week or just one client here and there or a huge client, it takes up a lot of time to be in Manhattan. It was like killing my vibe.
So was it always real estate for you? And I understand too, you were also in the design world, the interior design world as well. Did you do that at the same time?
Yeah, I was selling a very big property to friends and clients of mine, and I was sort of just, I wasn't trying to give them any design advice. I just was like, oh, you could do that over there. I saw upstairs they did this, or maybe you should do that. And they were just like, well, do you want to maybe like help on this? And I was just sort of like, I'd never been asked that before. And one thing led to the other. I did a few of, properties for them and did some other things, and it was like a really fun, like once in a lifetime. I mean, I did some cool stuff in states I had never been to and properties I never would have had the opportunity to work with, and I think it was just such an exciting opportunity I couldn't say no to. So what
was the top spot? I mean, we're getting a little off, but what was the top spot you visited, you'd say?
Through design, nothing so exotic or that interesting, but just, I had never been to certain states in the South. I'm like a Jewish New Yorker, where I feel like I was like LA, New York, Palm Beach, Beverly Hills, London, Paris. I had gotten around. I wasn't, stationary in Manhattan, but I had never really explored like the country. So I just saw some cool places, met some really interesting people in all different walks of life, and I really was able to do like just such cool, like amazing stuff that really.
And you pull on that now, that background and experience as part of your, armamentarium in real estate?
I mean, I wasn't a trained designer. I really was just sort of like, I had tons of friends in fashion that were fashion designers. I had tons of friends that were interior designers, all of whom, were huge influences in my life. And I just sort of had my own like weird kind of quirky style that, some people would say is very particular and whatever. And so I feel like it was like kind of something I was born with. My grandmother, when she was younger, did interior design and did her own homes. And I was just sort of around the art world my whole life, so it was very second nature to me. I didn't really set up, doing it, but I think, to answer your question in a very long-winded way, I think it's just sort of like a part of my DNA, to be honest. Like when I saw this house, my husband didn't even walk in the front door. I mean, he won't even come near it. It was like there might as well have been a hazmat sign. I walk in and the broker's like, this takes a real visionary to see through this. I was like, see, are they blind? I didn't understand. Like I had amazing beams, a high ceiling that you have to spend 5 times the size. Well, it was definitely a labor of love. There was a huge fire pit and place where we're standing that was like 8 feet wide that went to the ceiling, that was like the source of the heat.
A couple Marlboros in there, I'm sure.
The kitchen was the garage. and it hadn't been lived in for quite a few years. I have since met the previous owner's daughter, who's a trustee at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and they're so happy with what we did with the place and that we love it, and we really like kept as many architectural details as we could.
It's awesome.
Well, I think, brokers sometimes make good investors, they make good designers, you just see so many homes. I think what's different about you, Jared, is like you like to make, old things new, whereas a lot of people in the Hamptons, we were just talking about this off camera a little bit, rip things down or they build new. And what's cool about you is like, restoration, and you restored this beautiful barn. So maybe talk a little bit like, where do you see design going? Because things seem so cyclical in life, right? And it feels like maybe there is a return to that, making a cool barn new again. So what do you think?
I think if I see one more modern barn that looks like Satan's cousin's, palazzo. I mean, I've seen some houses out here that truly give me nightmares. I think, I was looking, what keeps you up at night? I think, I've come a long way, physical and mental health, and, I do sleep well at night, or at least I try to. It's hard out here in the summer, but like some of these spec homes or just weird, like, architectural things that I've seen, that some have become trends, some just, whatever. I really wish that just ends.
Yeah.
I think the Hamptons, like what attracted so many people here were the artists and the cool homes and the architecture and the history. Like we shared a lot of similarities with Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard, like all these amazing sort of beach destination places. And I kind of think a lot of people miss the ball in that architecture and design sort of aesthetic. And what I've specialized in has been historic homes, cool homes, unique homes. I moved from the 1800s to the early 1900s, and then, it was like I love some of these like 70s houses and even some 80s. I've seen people reinterpret. I saw a house on Mitchell's Lane the other day that I thought was new construction. I went to go look at it just because I thought they did an amazing job to build like a new house. It turned out it was a house built in 1991 that was like the ugliest house. It was not so attractive, and they put in cool glass windows and completely tweaked the facade, and they did such a spectacular job.
Yeah, we love that too. I mean, I know as a team we love marketing, working with developers that actually have a design element, that if it's going to be new, but at least they take certain care to it, and I love that about you.
Or a point of view. You know, I love people with points of views and an opinion, and not just look like they just copied like 3 houses that they saw and did kind of a cheaper replica of it. But I appreciate so many different types of styles, and I think that for my next project, I've done a few different projects here and in other places.
Yeah, what does that look like? What would be like your ideal next project?
Well, I think, and ironically, the second I said that, I keep finding all the other old little cool like one-off ranch houses. I'm like, oh, I want to do a ranch, I want to do this, but
in your mind, favorite spot, location?
I think what I would love to do is, as a challenge, is to build completely new, maybe pick up like an old, something somewhere, an old maybe art barn, move it, like incorporate both new and old elements, but really build a brand new house that I think is like a vision of mine that takes all of my favorite elements. Someone very chic and wise once said in an interview that I love everything about an old home except that it's an old home, and I understand why the ceiling heights are, different things. We lived differently 100+ years ago. So I would love to kind of incorporate all my favorite things and do a ground up project.
And where are we going? Sagaponic on the farm, Sag Harbor, oceanfront, where are we going? What's the spot?
Well, I'm an equal opportunity employer. I don't think, there are certain areas that are just not in my wheelhouse, but I love like the farm views everywhere. I mean, we had our eye on something in Wainscott overlooking a reserve. I think it really just depends.
Are you having anybody, and we're talking about points of view, right? So are you having somebody videotape you at all with social media, TikTok? I understand you got
I catch you. I follow you on TikTok. You're live.
You just hit a big,
we hit 1.2 million views in the last 6 weeks. So since I sort of dropped New York City, I had a few extra hours a week to spend on, projects or whatever. So I wanted to just put some time into it, because really you see something online, if it's a 5-second clip, a 1-minute video, I mean, we know how much time goes into things, and it's not easy to sort of have that. So I have a couple people that I work with, but I also do a lot myself. I mean, I'm editing videos at night. I'm doing research on,
But your life is interesting, and I feel like I talk to people about this, or brokers or marketing people about this. Like, for some reason, brokers, like, we just get so obsessed with our listings. And it's like, even if there's a new Threads comes out or a new social media, and they just like, here's my listings, and putting the listings out, where it's like, people are interested about your life. Like, you're a very interesting guy, and you do a lot of cool things. So it's like, watch you walk around a property, talk about a property is interesting, instead of you just saying, oh, I've sold this or sold that. So like, talk about some of the content you film. Like, what are you filming?
Yeah, well, I'll just back up and say, like, I've never been a listing machine. I can get a little bored with listings, and sometimes I feel that, like, unless I love something so much and go after, like, I want to sell this, I've always kind of been like a buyer's agent. I just love it. I love the hunt. I love the search. I love this. I'm like a sniffing drug dog, sniffing for deals in the woods. Like, I love the sort of the game. And, and it's really a sport for me. So it's been easier for me to kind of showcase kind of what I'm about, what I do, my taste, my style, my insights, and my point of view, which is, my own. And what I respect most about people is just at least having one, and not just sort of being like a bionic robot, which sometimes we see in our business of just, you don't know what they think of anything, because every home is amazing. So I have no idea if I just answered your question or not.
But. No, I think you did. I think it was good, yeah.
So we're talking about disruption, we're talking about innovation. Is there something that you see in the business of real estate that's majorly disruptive and innovative? Maybe it's disruptive for good, maybe it's impactful in a negative way, but we love talking with people who, especially who have their finger on the pulse in our market, New York City. You mentioned South Florida. Maybe there's something there that you're seeing as well.
Well, we'll do a little quick tangent on South Florida.
All right.
Palm Beach is, I think, a little bit different. It's a much smaller place. However, I spent some time in West Palm Beach, and there's like a few areas there, like Soso and Northwood. El Cid has already blown up, and just the demographic is so much younger. It's not, this old age, stuffy, like sweater set crowd. Probably in comparison to the Hamptons, a little bit, but I think there's so much opportunity, and Northwood reminds me of like kind of what West Hollywood used to look like before the gays took over and made it like absolutely spectacular. Thank you, gays. And, I just see so much amazing change coming. The same people that did the Wynwood district in Miami are doing a whole, like, I think it's a 1 square mile district in West Palm, which is going to really be an entire new infrastructure, because there's still like up and coming parts, but that's very exciting. So
I think it's like lifestyle, right? It's like showing the movement of lifestyle into different regions. In the Hamptons is one thing, and I feel like you're an ideal person that you now moved here from the city, right? And we talk about that off camera too, about this new movement of people that are here and they're staying here. It's not like anyone's leaving, and it's like people, I feel like through COVID, it put, I think, gas on a trend of lifestyle more than saying I have to live in New York City, but no, I want to live where I want to live.
Yeah, and I think the Hamptons have become a year-round destination, but we have so much room to grow in that department, and I hope me being here and knowing, I've never really done much commercial, but since really cementing myself as a, I guess I can say I'm a local now, even though some people will question me, but it's true. And
they question you. You got the answers.
Yeah. And I would love to see a few more year-round setups, whether it's like a luxury gym, a private members club, co-working spaces, and like the nightlife here. I think when I was a kid, this was like the most.
It changed. Well, it used to be a big party town, and now I was like, you see more strollers and like.
100%.
Nightclubs, and it's changed like some of that. And we've gotten more calls, I know, from a commercial standpoint. Our team, people looking to invest just from like big city, developers, that are major guys, own buildings all over the place, that are looking for commercial developments out here to put money.
It's very difficult to find, but I found a couple. I think there's a few, like if a company or a brand or an organization or a co-working space or a club is looking for a space, and you get a great broker, like, I don't know, maybe you can see 3 guys sitting right there, but really you can find it. And I know it's not so easy to hire people out here. There's less people than there are in other markets, but you can absolutely find them. And I think that I'm so excited to see what the future like holds here. And I think that I just went to look at a property in Bridgehampton, and I was sort of going through, like, there are commercial components, and there are places, and there are pieces of land that people can come and really do extraordinary things. And I think that as year-round as we are now in comparison to 10 years ago, I think sky's the limit of where we could be in a few years.
Really well said.
Let's stay on the future topic. Where do you see our industry as an agent in 5 years?
I'm trying not to get canceled today.
We can cut it. It's okay.
Let me think of something that won't get me sued or canceled or bullied.
Well, let me take a broader, like maybe from the macro. Where do you see the business of real estate, not just the agents, the business of real estate in 5 years? Do you see it being done by machines with AI? Or
enough about this nonsense. I think AI is definitely a real threat to some people's jobs, but to look at not in real estate, in my opinion, to look at artificial intelligence and be worried about any other thing than the AI themselves maybe blowing us all up or creating whatever. I think that industry will create a lot more human jobs in general. So I'm not just so like anti-technology and anti-this. I hope we become much more modernized and streamlined, and that we're all sort of working from a more updated multiple listing system and websites and platforms that work. You know, I'm so sick of my clients sending me listings from like 2019 being like, can we see this? It's like, first off,
especially
where did you find
it's very hard.
It's not perfect anywhere, but I find here to be just a little bit more outdated than others. So that would be a huge change that I would want to see. You know, when you want a robot to sell your house, you know, go for it. You want to give a robot a call and your key code and let, you know, computers just, you know, go in and out of your property. I don't think that's going to happen. And I think, as we know in the luxury market, people they need people to execute transactions. But, you know, I think that I hope we'll be able to communicate with all different brokers on text or emails and get quick responses. I love when, you know, love working with you guys, because I know when it's one of your listings, we can get in, we can show it, and my client doesn't have to rearrange their schedule to accommodate, you know, a broker schedule. Like, I love just kind of working together. I hope to see, you know, and that's why I kind of love being out here. I think people can look from the outside and say it's a very competitive place. It doesn't open to new people or whatever, but I think you just kind of find the winners amongst it. And there's a lot of great people in the industry here, and I hope they continue to succeed. There are some people that I'm not sure how. I should probably watch my words on that. But, you know, it's different types. And what I love about this business is that there's someone for everyone. I mean, there are clients and buyers that don't text, that don't you know, do certain things, that are, you know, a different pace and come from a different world and may not necessarily care about my, you know, my opinion on certain, you know, design or whatever elements, you know, that I may bring to the table. And that's totally great.
But they're coming to you for your ability to execute and you know, good fiduciary to them.
I hope after they watch this, they'll still come to me.
So, anything that keeps you up at night as it relates to this business, you know?
I mean, I think, you know, there's definitely been a few projects and developments I've seen out here that really was like, if this person could get a construction loan and get the permitting done and have architects sign off on these plans and have a potential buyer buy it, you know, I would love to see, you know, truthfully, what I think about most is, when I started in real estate, new developments, there was a couple that were really, really well designed, and a couple that were like kind of the reigning champions amongst a lot of just sort of, you know, whatever properties. And there were a few kind of pioneers in the industry that brought in, like Louise Sunshine and, you know, Michael Schvo and some other people that brought in some major designers and major fashion brands and really like used their luxury marketing expertise and brought in like the world's greatest talent. I'm a little confused why developers here don't seem to be hiring interior designers in the process. And I can tell a home that has had a world-class designer advising even 10% of the project. You know, like, there's no reason why a developer couldn't spend, you know, it's not a little money, but couldn't spend a significant part of their budget and have like a world-class talent, who many of whom have homes out here, who do tons of projects out here, and have them design the house. Or, you know, collaborate with a brand like Laura Piana or Brunello and build, you know, like we have the Armani residences in New York City. Why don't we have an Armani house out here? You know, there's just certain basic questions that I'm just like, I don't understand really. I think we're a little bit, you know, behind in that, and I don't really see many people at the front of that. So hopefully, you know, us bringing some knowledge to the table and experience. I mean, those houses did so unbelievably well. And if these people are paying designers millions of dollars and waiting 3 years for their home to be built, like, why wouldn't they just buy one that designer was engaged by the developer? And I think it would be a total, first off, we would all, whether it's our taste or our style or not, I think having different points of view of people who are talented and do design and architecture for a living.
Well, it's elevating it to a different degree, instead of like creating like a standard. Yeah, innovation,
cool.
right? Making things better, and like, I feel the same way.
You know the prices that people get offered for those unbelievably designed homes that they live in, that they just finished, and like people basically be like, "I'll pay a blank check."
Yeah.
You're like, that's worth 15.
I love
we
your
just got
passion,
25
Jared.
million last week.
I have a passion for it too, and I know we've been focusing a lot on new development. And what I love about new development is actually like helping them elevate it. When we advise these guys and trying to, tell them what you're saying on this podcast is, we tell developers a very similar thing. Like, hey, bring the designer and let's elevate that, because we hate attaching our name to a product that's just like not going to take it up a notch.
And I can tell from pulling up to the house to opening the door, the hardware, and oftentimes it's not that these people are cheaping out. That's what I don't understand. Like, they're spending money on expensive fixtures and finishes and kitchens, but sometimes I'll see the kitchen, it's like, oh, like who would do that kitchen with that? It's just, there's a I think working with a talented person in those creative industries will really kind of fine tune the process, and I think totally potentially be a catalyst in a big change, and maybe open up to other.
Really well said, Jared.
Really well said.
Yeah, really well said.
That was fantastic. Well, listen, we won't want to take any more of your time on this busy summer day.
I'm having the time of my life.
We can keep talking about new development. I love it.
We've got to let you go. We can't thank you enough for joining us here on Disrupt. And let's talk some more off camera.